Howdy, Mr. and Mrs. Ross. Thank you for coming in and taking the time to sit down and speak with me about your financial plan. We've been working hard to get all straightened out for you. Do appreciate all the information you provided thus far, and we've basically based all our financial calculations off of the information you gave us. So I got a copy here for you, and I'm going to use this as basically a working copy, and that's what I'd like you to use it as well. So what I mean by working copy is it's kind of like a living document. I mean, we can always reprint new pages if you write on them. So feel free to write on them and use it as a notebook. So then when you're going through the plan and you come up with ideas or thoughts, just write them on the pages. And then when we reconvene, either monthly, quarterly, or every 6 months, once we establish our schedule, you'll have notes right there ready for you. So don't feel like you can't write on it. We can also provide this to you in a electronic format if you prefer. Sometimes I read stuff on iPads and stuff like that too, so we can definitely do that as well. But firstly, we're just going to go ahead and take a look at this first section, and basically it's just going to be our cover letter to you, and kind of like I'm telling you now, thank you for choosing us and coming in and trusting us with your plans, and we're going to work hard to develop this financial plan for you to meet your goals. So what we want to cover real quick is just a quick disclaimer. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a CPA, so when we talk about legal documents and things of those nature, we're gonna tell you to find an attorney or whatnot, and we can help you find and locate an attorney. And I can also sit in and talk with that attorney for you or with you, but we just want to make sure that I'm not the one trying to set up trust and wills and things like that. So basically the other part of the disclaimer is unfortunately we're just planning, so kind of like the weather, it changes. So we try to predict when it's going to rain, and we try to predict when it's going to be sunny, but sometimes things happen and we can't predict everything. So we'll do the best that we can to stay abreast of changes in the economic environment, the world, and for yourself as well. If you feel like things are changing on your end, that's when you want to pick up the phone or send us an email and just let us know what's going on. And again, that's why I like this notebook is you can keep a pad of paper in there or another notebook and just write it on the pages when you think of stuff. If something comes to mind that might change or is going to change. The other thing is we have to keep an eye on changing taxes and different local laws and stuff like that. So when those things change, we'll have to change your plan. So just be aware that, again, this is kind of a living document, as they call it. It's going to evolve and change with the times. But we were going to stay on track with your goals. So the next part of it is just our what we call engagement letter. And what this is going to do is this is basically our contract. You're essentially contracting me to do service, and so this is basically that. And so it stipulates the responsibilities of each party, things of that nature. So if you want to go over that some more in the future, we can. But it's pretty standard and straightforward. And I'll let you take a look at that as we move on. I want to get to this meat of this plan for you, not take up too much of your time. So if we go to tab 1, we got some tabs here, and we got this nice table of contents for you. And so essentially what this is going to do is lay out the binder and how it's kind of how all the sections are. And then if you turn that page, you'll see the introduction, which is basically the same thing, but just more or less without the numbers. So, but what it's going to do is going to include what our vision is as a company here. And what I like to say is we're creating a way forward that aligns your core values with your financial goals. So financial goals without solid values behind them are a lot harder to achieve than those that are driven by your actual value system. So that's what I want you to kind of think about is we want to make sure that we're working together to fulfill your actual values and your needs. And so in doing that, one thing I'd like to ask is from reviewing all your goals and things, we're going to talk about some of the value themes that I see, and then I'm just going to confirm those with you. So that's kind of how this process is going to work. So the next thing is our mission here. So our mission here is to be your fiduciary champion, always fighting for your best interest. And so that's what I feel my job is to go out there and wear the Team Ross jersey, all right, and I'm going to go out there and represent you and try to find you the best economic advantage. And then our ethics statement is in accordance with the CFP board, the Certified Financial Planner Board, and the regulatory agency's standards of conduct. I'll hold my fiduciary duties, and what that means is basically I'm going to put your financial best in front of mine. So, for instance, if I was selling you a certain financial product and it benefited you more than me, then I would go with that one because it's what's better for you, not just because it's better for me, if that makes sense. The information we provide here will always be straight confidence. So just to reassure you, we have a lot of security going, so then we can make sure that all your information is stayed safe. And so to get to the meat of it, our core planning areas is what we call them, or basically how we kind of subdivide financial planning. So as you can see here, we're going to talk about cash management, cash and debt management first, and then we're going to proceed through risk management and insurance, and then education and investment, tax and retirement, and estate planning. So you'll kind of see how it starts to move together, and it kind of connects. So under tab 2 here, we got your information, basically restating the stuff that you told us on the form just to make sure we're straight. And also here is where, like I was saying, you can annotate extra little things that change. For instance, if there's more grandchildren that come about, or any of these things change as far as where people are living and things like that. So then we know for estate planning purposes what we're going to have to do. And then we start with your goals. And so basically we broke the goals into those divisions that we had before. So we took what you stated as your goals and we kind of sectioned them off into the various sections that they fit in there, so we can address them a little bit more systematically. Now, over to the right is the box for priority. So we basically went again off of the information you gave us. And just be aware that we try to do things in order so as not to have too many. Everything could be a priority, right? Everything's number one. But we want to make sure that we kind of sequence these, because if we had to choose, we want to know which direction to go in. So that's something that we could be changing in the future for you as well, and we can make that change. And then the last section here is just some of the concerns that you kind of voiced with your initial intake and information that you provided us. And basically what I left here was blank, was like the priority and impact of these things. So if, what's most important to you from basically top to bottom, and then, you could go 1, 2, 3, things like that. And then impact wise, how much of a financial impact is that going to be? Or what I'd like to know is how much of a emotional or family impact that's going to be, and then kind of bounce that off of the financial side. So, just because something might be a little more financially taxing, it may not be as important as something that's more emotionally taxing. Because, again, values and goals, right? So they have to kind of line up. And then the next page there, we just restated the assumptions that we're using to gather our data. So, again, it's kind of the same information that you gave us from before. All right, so to the section 3 is our executive summary, and that's we're going to sum up all of the changes and all the goals that we need to make in accordance to the section of financial planning that they fall under. So if you need to go to one place to see it all from your from kind of a top view, this would be your section to go to. Each other section here breaks down as cash and debt management is on tab 4, and then risk management, so on and so forth. But right here, it just sums all the goals and all the changes that need to be made. So you don't have to go digging through all these things to look for it. Now, when you want to know more about it, you can just turn to that tab and you can look, and then you'll see at the end that the goal and changes restated at the end, along with some basically reasons for being, right, some justification. So then you can kind of, come back to it, because there's a lot here. So what I want to do is just kind of spend some time going over this executive summary and see if you have any questions. So the biggest changes that we're looking at for cash and debt management are the property out in Utopia, we need to build on it. We need to lease it out for grazing or lease it out for hunting. The reason I say that is because we start using it to make income, and it can turn into some kind of passive active income down the road. And then also it could be a place where you go to vacation. So I think that's a big goal to kind of work towards when you're talking about, budgeting here and there throughout the month. Risk management and insurance plan. Basically, we're going to recommend you move to the H05 policy. Bregman's College Fund. We're talking about the 529, and we'll have to correct that, but it's going to be a 529 plan that we recommend that we move to, because that'll allow you to basically use that as a way to lower your not only lower your taxes but also fund his college fund, and basically puts money into a mutual fund to invest for the future. So we've figured that out for you. Then the investment plan section, what we want to talk about there is the basically the portion of the divorce order for the money that Carol got assigned to her. Is that all for her, or is there some of it that's being withheld? And then reallocating your portfolio to what they call a balance 2 profile. And what that means is right now you're kind of on an aggressive curve, and so basically you're taking a lot of risks with your investments. And so as you move towards retirement age, you want to decrease that risk. Even though lowering your risk is going to lower your returns a little bit, it's better to be safer with your investments as you approach retirement, because you won't have time to make up those losses, if that makes sense. So we're still predicting about an 8%, a little over 8% return, and you're going to we run what they call a Monte Carlo analysis on that, and just basically the computer runs the numbers essentially and keeps running about 1,000 times all the different possibilities, and we have an 83% confidence rating that pumps out of that says this is going to work for you. And so we don't always try to lean on the machines and the computers, but it does help to have something that can kind of run those scenarios and kind of like a game, right? And it runs the different numbers and gives you a prediction. So we're pretty confident in that working out for you there. And then the other the really biggest risk here is the Home Depot stock. You have a lot in the Home Depot stock, and we need to diversify that out and get that split up a little bit, because it leaves you, what if, the worst thing happens at Home Depot tomorrow, then all your stock kind of goes down, and then you lose a big part of your savings. Yep, and then under your tax plan, we want to move you down to the 28% bracket from the 33% bracket, which will save you 5%. But the way we're gonna do that is with the 529 plan, because you're saving that money off into there. And then your retirement plan, basically what we're looking at here is your living expenses are fine, but what I want to know about is TRS beneficiary designation for Carol. Has she checked since the last time when she was divorced? I know, because it doesn't automatically change, and so you want to make sure you go in there and you're putting the right beneficiaries in there. And again, the QDRO account. You'll see some of these pop up in different plans, the same recommendations, is because they kind of tie together, and that's kind of how important they are, is because they cover more than one area of your financial plan. Estate planning. This is kind of the biggest area that needs. Just has a lot of steps right now, but number one, we need to find a good lawyer that we can work with, and that'll be your personal decision when we can recommend people. And like I said, I can sit in and talk to them with you or after or however you'd like. But that's number one, because we're going to have to start drafting some documents up. We definitely need the wills updated, and we're going to need to work on what we call a special trust. A special needs trust, and what that is basically it's irrevocable, which means once it starts, it starts. There's no taking money back out of it. But what also that'll do is that'll alleviate some of your estate taxes down the road. So the whole point here is we want to take care of Ann, and so that's one way to do it, and to make sure it's getting done even in the future. But a big part of that is finding somebody who can serve as your personal representative or as a basically a trustee. And so that all kind of starts with the lawyer, talking with the lawyer. They could probably find a trustee, or you could decide if you want somebody from the family, and we can kind of discuss that and advise you what we would do, basically what we think is the best for you. I'd like you to also meet with your CPA and get exactly get your exact tax returns from 2017, and go ahead and review and have them review for the 2018 taxes, because everything changed, and so you were itemizing, but you may not fall into itemizing limits anymore because it went up to 24,000. So we want to make sure that you're picking the smart option for yourself and that you're not leaving money on the table, so to speak. After that, this page is left blank because it's for expansion. Like I said, we can make changes as we need to go. But the biggest things that, like I said, we went over was that executive summary, and that kind of sums everything up. So once again, we need to look at your monthly shortfall under cash management, and then on that note, using that laying out in Utopia to bring in some income would be great, because I know it's really important to you. And like I said before, reading through your goals and your aspirations, it seems like you really value family, because you don't want to let go of family land. You're thinking about Ann and what's going to happen there, and then you're thinking about Bregman and his college. So sounds to me like family is kind of the big value there, making sure that family's taken care of. And so I think that's a really great value to help drive this effort. But we want to also make sure that we're doing it financially smart, and in that way you're able to maximize the family value that you're giving. And so I think by investing in this land and doing some stuff there, like I said, one of the things that'll need to happen there is we'll need to look to see how much would it cost to build on that land. Is there any special permitting? Is it allowed? What's going to take to get cattle grazing done out there? And then what's the hunting lease all about, and things like that. But basically, those are the top waypoints. And so now, what I'd like you to do is take some time and just review through here, and you can take this home. You can look through it. And like I said, you can write questions all over it, and then we can get back together and review those questions, because there's a lot of information here. So I just went over basically what needs to happen and the end results of all the analysis. So feel free to review all the notes and all the calculations and things like that. But at the end of the day, the executive summary is the checklist. It's basically the master checklist of what has to be done in order to accomplish your goals and wishes. And so that's where I want kind of the focus area to be on. Now, in addition to that, when you review it, if you look off to the right, there's a little space that says due date. And so I could write a date on there, but I mean, who am I to tell you? You should go home and kind of sit together and find out when are you going to do these things. And off to the side, I kind of numbered them 1 through 3 based off of your goals that you in the information you gave me in the beginning, and based off of the family value theme. And so what I'd like you to do is focus on the ones first, and then put hard dates on there, and then the twos, and so on, and get a calendar and just write them on the calendar where you're going to do them, when, and who. And right here we kind of assigned, or we put who we think should do them. Now, if you think somebody else should do them, you just write it in there. But what I want to do is get back together with you beginning of the month and review that with you, so we can be both on the same page, and I can help guide you along. Well, I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you for coming in and speaking with me. If you have any questions, please give us a call. Thank you.